How are you today?
I'm doing great.
Good.
How are you doing?
You know, life. But
Life.
I'm okay. Can't complain.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
We had a very interesting conversation a couple of weeks ago about an article that I wrote.
Yeah, you've written so many interesting articles. I'm wondering which one.
Okay. The name of this article was The 28-Day Wave.
Yeah, the 28-day wave. What about it?
Tell me a brief take, your first impression.
First impression about the 28-day wave article. I was pissed, quite frankly.
Yeah, I was surprised that you were pissed.
You're surprised I was pissed. Why?
You're not the only person who's read it.
Really?
Yeah. But tell me why you were pissed.
Well, out of the people who've read it, was it mostly male or female?
Females.
And how did they react to it?
Positive.
Positive, compared to mine.
Compared to yours,
Mine
yes.
was negative, huh?
Yes.
Did you find out why they were so positive about it?
I think that the people who are positive were just happy that a man was putting an effort
A man was putting an effort into talking about, according to you, something they hate so much that women ignore it and pretend, in your own words, that our cycles do not exist.
So the 28-day
Well,
wave.
you don't see why I was
I'm not saying
pissed
that.
at that take from you. Huh?
Well, let's explain it for everyone else.
Okay.
In the article, and I don't remember exactly how I wrote it. When I write those articles, oftentimes I just hammer out thoughts and often don't look back at them. But the 28-day wave is the idea that you can, as a man, you can prepare. I see it. You can, as a man in a relationship with a woman that you love, you're better off from your side of the fence, which makes the whole relationship better, if you try to prepare yourself for her cycle. Try to understand that a woman is affected by her hormones, and her hormones change throughout her menstrual cycle. Men who do that have an advantage over men who don't, just because if you think about it, at least half or more than half of the fights will come down to just a few days in that cycle. The way I wrote it in the article. Do you want to inject anything? Interject?
Oh, waiting, because you're explaining to your listeners
Okay.
who have not read the article, which I strongly encourage anyone who would be interested in adding their 2 cents to go read the article before you start to break down what he just explained, because he did a good job right now at explaining what he meant. But I don't think the article comes across as if you are talking to, well, you're talking to men, you're advising men to be more in tune, per se, with what is going on naturally with their woman.
Right.
Okay. But also in the article, you attack women.
Oh, I did?
Yes.
Maybe it was just a little...
You said we hate our cycles, our periods, and we ignore it and pretend that it doesn't happen. You can't pretend you don't have your periods when it comes whether you want it to or not. And of course, except you're pregnant or you're stopping it with birth control. It comes every month. Like, it can't. There's no woman who would act surprised to see her period.
So that's where you hung up. So in my life, in my experience, there's been several instances where it comes out of nowhere.
Okay.
And very inopportune times for both of us.
Right. And usually I would assume this is when you've gone out.
Yeah.
You're out on a date, let's say, or on a vacation somewhere.
Yeah.
And out of the blue.
And out of the blue.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, when that first started happening to me, it's shocking. I'm like, how is that? How does that happen? Now, obviously, not all women are the same, right? And it sounds like you have a very good handle on it, right?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I do not. But
the only reason that's in the article is to just, you know, as a man, from a man's perspective,
yes,
we don't know what the fuck is going on.
Sure.
At all.
Yes.
Ever. And the least that y'all talk, the least that we know.
Do you know how many times I have tried to have a conversation around periods, menstruation, all of that with a man, and the first thing or their first reaction is absolute disgust, almost as if it's a taboo to talk about something that happens so naturally to half of the population in this world, but the other half just walks around as if we should not talk about it, we should not even mention it. And then you have men like you.
Well, that's why it's an article in the book, and it's something we address in the program.
So yes, I guess I was pleasantly surprised that you had any interest in talking about that. But yeah, thanks for clearing, up that part about attacking us for not knowing our menstrual cycle. We do know, and sometimes you can't even control it because, our bodies are so different and changes a lot that women don't have fixed, periods where they get their cycle. It just happens whenever it happens, quite frankly. Mm-hmm. You will know as a woman because leading up to that, you will know, your body will start to tell you. But you don't know exactly when it's going to happen. Right. So I don't think, it's fair. Maybe you should take that part out of your article. Or
well, it goes more than just it. You're focused on that one part of it.
Because it's a huge part of it.
Okay, well, I apologize for offending you and anybody else who may have read it and got offended.
Thank you on behalf of all the women.
But from a man's perspective, the whole point of it is there to help men understand what the fuck is going on.
And I applaud you for doing that.
The premise and what I have gathered in my life and seen it repeat and repeat over and over and over is if you track day one of her cycle, the best thing to do is just put that thing in the phone and set a 28-day reminder. You can kind of, sort of, have a gauge, a barometer of what to expect over the next 28 days. So, would you like me to illustrate?
Yes, please.
And you can say whatever you wish.
Okay.
So if we take where you're at in your cycle and compare it to what all men want all the time, which is sex, and your desire to have sex,
right?
We can use this cycle to determine the likelihood that you will be receptive. A woman will be receptive of a man's
I would only assume if my man was bleeding through his penis, I would not think he would have any desire to fuck.
Yeah.
Which is what I would expect of any man with a brain cell.
Okay.
If a woman is going through her period, why the fuck are you thinking of fucking her?
We don't know that.
You don't know what?
Most men, a lot of men, especially any man who's not thinking about that.
So they're not communicating properly with their woman.
Exactly.
So can we go down to the basis, which is communication?
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
So your woman is not comfortable enough to tell you when she's on her period.
For a lot of men, yes. For a lot of men, that's.
And what sort of man are we talking about? Is it just casual dating, or like my husband, or a long-term boyfriend?
Well,
because if this is someone who's been in your life for more than 2 months, then I'm sure they will tell you, yeah, they will not be asking for sex after seeing you go through your period once and twice. So what sort of relationship does this?
Well, it's going to be an intimate relationship, or at least leading up to it, or
Okay.
right. And if it's what sort of man that's the sort of man I'm trying to build, is a sort of man who is in touch with stuff like that. If that man has provided a safe place for that woman to open up, if they're talking about that, if they're in a position to have that conversation, he has done a great job to talk about all the things.
So what was your advice to women who do not mind talking about it, but the men who do not want to hear it? Or
I mean, we talk about red flags all the time, but
that should be a huge red flag for the woman.
Or just ask.
What if this guy just hates blood? Just the thought of blood, just ugh.
Well, so you got to find out if is it just that one topic, or is that how he is with everything? Is he just unable to get a little bit uncomfortable and still be able to provide comfort for her? Because that's the kind of man you need, or that affects everything.
Right.
You're never going to be happy with anything that you're doing. If you can't talk to your man about your period ever, how are you ever going to get anything that you want?
You tell me.
I don't see it.
So I read, part of that article talks about what a man should do, or,
Yeah, I was having some fun.
The chocolates and the flowers.
Okay.
I don't know. If my man came home to me when I was on my period and handed me flowers, yeah, I think I'd whip him with it.
What I said. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Exactly. So depending on where you're at in your cycle, the flowers are going to be received differently. Mm-hmm. And the man should know that, because sometimes we don't know what the fuck to do, so we just start covering up mistakes and throwing gifts and just trying everything we can. And last time we gave you flowers, we got a blowjob for it. This time we give you flowers and we got thorns stuck in our side of our face from it. Why? Because you don't know where she's at in her cycle. Her hormones are through the roof.
What if it has nothing to do with her cycle?
Well, we can't control.
So what if
everything.
he tries her cycle, does all that,
So if you're
stuff.
if you're having a great day and you've had a great couple of days and you're in a great mood, mm-hmm. and a man hands you flowers and you get mad and hit him with the flowers, he should probably leave your ass alone. Because you don't have a very good reason to be hitting somebody with some flowers. Yeah, he's doing the best he can with what he's got. He's avoided all the landmines, and he's handing gifts, and he's getting whipped for it. I think he needs to get in his car and turn around and go back home and not come back. I don't know. Now, if he gives them to you, if he's making the advances at the wrong time, you get a little bit of slack. He should. That's why it's important to understand your woman. That's why it's important, whether we're talking about your cycle, no matter what it is, a man's responsibility has to be to create that safe emotional place for her to be vulnerable, for her to have a safe place to talk, to communicate, to let her feelings out, so that no matter what it is, he'll always know where she's at and know what she needs.
And stand in his power, according to you, his masculine energy.
Yes.
What does that have to do with her cycle? How does it stand in his power? What does that mean?
The cycle?
Yeah.
Well, that cycle helps because it gets frustrating. You go a week without getting laid, and you're doing all your work as a man, which includes morning, noon, and night routines, which includes reaching out, taking her to lunch, taking her to dinner, doing all the housework, and you're giving her a long leash. Her cycle's about to start, and and she's feeling frustrated and everything bothers her, the color of this room's bothering her right now, that's hard to take repeatedly day after day after day for very long. So standing in your power is, look, bro, you're in touch with her. She's told you where she's at. Give her some time. Be her man.
So basically standing in his power means not being insecure when she's not giving him any attention.
Right. And if you understand why that's happening, I mean, there's just time in everyone's life where we're needier than other times. And there are times throughout that cycle where she is going to be very, very needy. And then there's times where she's going to be very, very giving. And if you're playing your cards right, you're going to be able to recognize those, and you're going to be able to have some fun on one end and know when it's time to buckle down and stand in your power and be the man that she needs. So that's the point of that. That's where that comes into play.
Okay.
And if you're not...
It's very interesting to see how other people will react when they read that article.
Yeah, we'll see. So if you go into it without a plan, I don't know how people do it. I mean, you're in a relationship for a reason.
I mean, if you're in a relationship, I think it's really about communicating. It's really about talking.
Yeah.
Like, you have to talk every time about pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Because how else are you going to get to know the person better? How else are you going to make them comfortable to talk to you about anything if you guys do not talk, or you have no idea how to listen?
So in the program, there's part of the program is what I call morning, noon, and night. Mm-hmm. And it sounds so simple. It sounds so simple and almost worthless, but it's just, you're just touching base. I mean, and whatever that looks like for you as the man that's in the program, you're out, you touch base in the morning, you touch base at lunch, you touch base in the evening, and all you're doing is you're just checking on her. You're just checking on her, asking her how she's feeling, giving her an opportunity to open it up, and you are providing a level, just a consistency throughout her day, which means a lot to women, a lot more than men realize or recognize or understand. We kind of do things, I think, more in blocks. I'll ask her about her day and she can tell me all about it for later on.
Right.
But there's this entire 10, 12, 18 hours went by and y'all didn't say a word to each other. To us, it means nothing. My feelings have not changed for you in 18 hours at all. To women, it feels different. I'm not a woman, I don't know, but it seems to feel a lot different, where they just start wondering, just, why isn't he talking to me? Why isn't he talking to me? And obviously, every woman's different, but it really helps to just touch base. Just touch base a couple times throughout the day. And the morning, noon, and night piece to the program, it only takes about 30 minutes of your life. A little bit in the morning, a little bit in the afternoon, a lot in the evening, just to communicate, like you say.
Right. To create common ground where you guys talk. That's nice.
Right. You like that, right?
I mean, it's effective. It's better than nothing. It's better than not having any plan at all. As to, most people do not think of communication like that. They think, like you said, I'll hear all about it at once in 2 days or in a day or whatever.
Yeah. And a lot of people, or a lot of men especially, like, I don't want to talk about that. I don't care about any of that. That's not the point.
And women feel that way too.
Yeah.
Women, well, personally,
Go ahead.
It's just like, you don't want to. I think it depends on the person you're dealing with.
Right.
Because there are some women who do not care for all of that. Like, I'm busy, don't blow up my phone asking me stupid shit like, have you eaten? Or like, how are you? Like, yeah, I'm good. I'll see you later. Especially if they think, okay, I'll see you later. But with that said, I think it's important even for the woman to take time, or I suppose that might be a way of slowing down.
Well, you got to learn each other.
Right.
How much contact?
So it's a good practice, you know, even for busy women who do not have time to, you know, who think, I'll talk to him later, or I'll tell him about my day.
Well, let me ask you this.
What?
2 days of nothing on your phone at all, or a couple smiley face emojis.
2 days of nothing.
Really?
Yeah.
It's nothing. Tell me why.
Because what the fuck is a smiley face? Just if you want to send me a message, send me a message.
Well, okay, I'll try to keep it simple.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
So
I would much rather we caught up with whatever we've not caught up with. Just, I need more information as to little information throughout the day, different times. That's just the way my mind works. It's like, I will consolidate all of this information and what happened during my day, blah, 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 and just like tell you about it.
You know, all I'm trying to do is say, hey, girl, I'm thinking about you. Hope you're doing good.
Yeah, but I know he's thinking of me.
How do you know?
True, I don't. But I don't sit around thinking, oh, is he thinking of me?
Well, good for you. Because you're a strong, mature woman.
I don't think it has anything to do with strength.
Okay.
Or maturity. I'm just very busy.
That's good. Good for you.
Yeah, but again, this is not a hard and fast rule, but it's a good practice really for people in committed long-term intimate relationships. Just to communicate, to talk to each other. You know, because you sort of want it to be, you almost, as if when you talk to each other about what's going on in your lives, it's it feels like you have someone.
Yeah.
You have someone in your corner. You have someone who at least gives a shit about you.
It gets lonely.
It feels nice both ways.
You're out there working your ass off so much you don't care if you get a text or not, and then you wake up and you're lonely as fuck.
It gets lonely to wake up to no text.
Does it?
Not really.
No.
I guess it depends.
Yeah, look at that smile.
On the weekends, maybe. On the weekends, but not on weekday. But yeah, no, I do think it really comes down to talking. Whatever that looks like.
Right.
FaceTime, calls, voice notes, voicemails, whatever it is. As long as I like to hear, if I'm in a relationship, I like to hear my partner's voice at least once during the day.
Oh, there you go.
Just for the fun of it.
Okay. So not the smiley faces, but just hear the voice.
Yeah, I suppose that's my thing. Just to hear their voice and yeah.
I'd like to hear your voice.
Because I hear different voices during the day. So it all feels homely to talk to the one person that.
Let me ask you a question.
What?
Back to how we started this with the 28-day wave. You know, it's a wave. It's like riding a wave.
Yeah, because women's estrogen levels.
Yeah. So
increases and decreases throughout.
The amount of communication and how you're going to respond to the communication, do you feel like changes what you expect or want, depending on where you're at in your cycle? The amount of tension, is it going to be different? Because for us, it's the same. We provide consistency. We don't have that.
Not all men. Well, the ones in your program maybe, but not all.
That's what I teach. That's what I try to teach.
Not all men.
Right. But women are allowed to be inconsistent. That's
the whole point of being a woman.
Okay.
We're allowed to flip-flop our lives because... But men don't have that luxury.
Right. A lot of guys don't know that. You understand that everybody walks around the planet thinking that everybody thinks just like they think. Everybody's walking around thinking that the world works the way that they see it
Yeah.
in their head. That's how everybody thinks.
Yeah.
So the first thing you got to do is snap that. Hey, dumb bastard, this is not you. You got to understand that every single person sees everything differently, and they expect the world to.
But isn't that just the prerequisite for an open-minded person?
Yeah. And
Just don't think your father's backyard is the biggest of all.
yes. And not being open-minded and not being able to put yourself in your woman's perspective.
It's very difficult to put yourself in it. Like, it's easy for me to put myself in, you know, say my best friends or my sisters, because they're women too. But it's a bit, that's why I think the idea of communicating is really important, because you are essentially explaining your gender and what's going on with you to someone who does not, you will never understand what my body goes through before my period.
Right.
It's not because you don't want to, it's just you can't.
I don't even want to. I want to understand.
You probably don't want to, but my point is, it's up to us as people, individuals, to say what is on our mind, to speak up about whatever it is. If you're uncomfortable about something, you say it. If you like something, you say it. If you bloody hate it, you say it. But not talking about it does not do anyone any favors, because nobody, not that I know of, nobody has the powers to read minds. So I think it's important to just be able to talk. And it's also important, I suppose, we should tell the men, it's very important to know how to listen. Because men, rather than listen or learn how to listen, will say, oh, women just talk and talk and talk. You're not an active listener. If you were an active listener, if you knew how to have a conversation, conversations should not be boring if you're listening to someone actively, or if...
Yeah, you communicate for understanding. That's what I call it.
If you're just sitting there and
talking about
letting
yourself,
them talk, or waiting for your turn to talk.
Not just the article, but men in general, and in your experience, where are we dropping the ball when it comes to the woman that we love and her cycle? Tell us a little bit about that and what we're doing wrong.
Why? I don't know what men are doing wrong.
What does it feel like?
But if I have to share a personal experience, so I have really severely painful menstrual cramps. So whether I want to tell the man I'm with that I'm on my period or not, he will know, because I literally cannot function without pain meds, to go about my day. I've been lucky that my periods do not necessarily affect my moods as they used to. And I think part of that is I've grown to learn my own body, to sort of know what might trigger what. Yeah, I mean, I could share that with the man I'm with.
Well, see, that's what, there's...
But going back to what men are doing wrong, again, I can't speak for a lot of women, but my realization whenever I talk to any man about period is that they're disgusted. Mostly because they think, oh, it's fuck block, that's just an excuse, for a woman not wanting to fuck at a particular time or not.
I personally have never thought. To me, it's a natural process. It's something that has to be there, and it's very uncomfortable for women. I'm assuming it's very uncomfortable and annoying, and I should be doing everything I can to make it as easier on her as I can until she starts using it as some kind of an excuse, some kind of out for stupid shit.
Yeah, no, men are generally disgusted by the thought of periods because, again, they do not understand the structure of it. They do not understand women's reproductive system more than just the vagina with it, you know. So, yeah, I don't know. I think men should learn more about women, I suppose. They keep talking about, oh, we don't understand women, we don't understand women. Here is a part of a woman that is sort of like a gateway into understanding women.
That's exactly why, yeah.
So that's why I really appreciate your article, you know, for men.
So if you're not
necessarily for women, because women already know this. We've been dealing with this our entire lives, so we deal with it. And because there's not talking about it with men, some women feel ashamed to talk about it. I don't know why any woman would feel ashamed about something that is so natural. I couldn't give a shit. If I was any man, like, yeah, having my period to me is like you sweating. It happens whether you want it to or not. So, yeah, if it happens, it happens. But, yeah, I just don't know why women are ashamed of it. But I know men try to shame women for it because, I don't know. Again, I couldn't speak for all men or women.
When I hear you talk about it like that, it makes me want to say, like, if you're in a relationship and you know that you're not communicating at the level that you would like to, talk about because maybe go talk about the period then.
No, really, it's...
Because it's let's both get uncomfortable and learn how to get comfortable with each other talking about something that is uncomfortable. Because if we can talk about that, and then we can talk about anything, and break down those barriers, you know.
I mean, it's a shame when I see a grown man not able to have any coherent words about a woman's period but again, that only tells me, or at least gives me a slight idea of how the issue of women and periods and menstruation was handled with this person growing up. It sort of informs me of the kind of conversations that was going on, you know, whether they grew up with any females in the house or not. A lot of people don't talk about it. When I had my first period, the first person I went to was my dad. I was like, here you go, now you have an extra bill on your account. So yeah, it's in my home or growing up, it was nothing to be ashamed of.
What about the men in your life that you've had, that you've tried to, like, you started that off by saying, if a man has no idea what to say about that,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, if a man cannot talk about that, he has no experience talking about that. I mean, it tells you that he doesn't know how to talk to women at all.
Sure, maybe.
If he has nothing of value, or
he's just very narcissistic. He does not give a shit. He does not care to know. He does not care to learn about that. He doesn't think it should ever affect him. If he cannot fuck one woman because she's on her period, there are a billion other women he can fuck who are not on their period. So
yeah,
there are men like that too. I suppose those are not the ones in your program.
Yeah, you keep focusing in on these couple of days in the cycle where you're actually on, and what I'm trying to relay is the full cycle. You know, so yeah, there's those days where you can't fuck,
including ovulation.
Yeah, all of that, but it helps a man. It helps a man to know. It helps us know, okay, this is where she is in her period. She's either about to have her period, she's going to be grumpy and moody, she's not going to want to have sex.
Because she's having PMS?
Yeah, or whatever, you know, because her emotions are adjusted to the point to where she is not interested in sex. because of her hormones. She's just not interested in sex. Or the period, day 1, day 2, day 3, you've been horny before and bleeding before in those early days, 1, 2, 3 of this cycle, but you're not going to do it because it's, it's a mess. Well, it just helps a man to know, and man should know where you're at, where you are. If I'm hot and horny and not even thinking about you and I just want to fuck you and I'm not paying any attention to where you're at in your cycle, that's selfish as hell. And if I'm just go into that,
I think that's a great point in that relationship for me to either tell you, right, what's going on, or to cut you off because you're a horny toad. You can't fucking control your dick. So,
yeah, but a lot of women won't.
What?
A lot of women won't tell you where she's at. She won't cut
Yeah,
you off
it's
until the
just-
very last moment.
It's just easier to. I don't know. It could be anything.
Yeah, you can't. But that's so the longer we go thinking we're going to get laid, the more it just builds. Like the anticipation builds. So, I mean, that's why. I mean, like I say, man, we can't control our women and everything she's going to do or say. So, what can we control? Pay attention to at least that part right there, and you'll be light years ahead of where you were if you weren't paying attention. Because one of the worst things there are is just absolutely knowing you want to get laid, you know it's going to happen. It's been a while, you've had a great day, and you're planning on it. You're putting you put a good date together. You're going to take her out somewhere nice, and you want her to wear this dress, and you're going to get all fancied up, and you're going to go to the best place and plan that date. Plan a date like that at the wrong time of the month.
Yeah, you're fucked.
Is a terrible idea. That is awful. To have no idea where she's at in her cycle, plan a date like that. Oh, we're going to have a big surprise. She's going to love this. I'm going to take her to her favorite restaurant or the new restaurant that we always talked about. But she's on day 22. She's cramping inside. She had diarrhea this afternoon. She's bloated. The dress that she was going to wear is tight as hell. She's not telling you any of this shit. But then she doesn't want to tell you all of that stuff. She sees how much work you've done to take her out on this, so she just goes along with it.
And come time for fuck.
Yeah, and what she should do, she knows what you're thinking. This man thinks he's going to get laid tonight. Mm-hmm.
She knows he's not.
She knows he's not, and this is where a lot of women, especially early in a relationship, this is a perfect time to figure out what kind of man you're dealing with right here. So she's feeling like shit, but she likes the attention. The attention is making her feel a little better, but in the back of her mind, she knows he thinks he's going to. The woman should tell that man, be open. Hey, we can do all this shit, but you're not getting laid. However you want to say that. You can say it in a more womanly way. Yeah, but it really put him to the test. And if that man continues to take you out and makes it about you and takes sex puts it aside, that's the kind of man that you should take a lot of interest in. If he acts like a little bitch, starts a little hissy fit, and the date falls apart because he knows he's not going to get laid, you lock the door on that guy.
Sure. That's actually sound advice.
Yes.
Maybe we should all use, hey, to all the women listening, if your man is listening, I think it's time to go to the other room. But yeah, I think it's great advice. So if you want to ever test out if a man is the real deal, just use a little period test on him.
Let him think he's going to get some, then throw it out there.
Even if you're not on your period, okay, you can use it. Just why not? It's a free tool to use. He's never going to verify if you're really on your period or not. So why not?
Tell him up front and then see how the date goes.
Yeah.
See if he still is charming and kind and nice and buys you shit and holds the door and da-da-da. See if he still acts the same when he knows he ain't going to get some at the end of the night.
But then he knows he will get some in 3 days. And so he will continue to do that for 3 days, knowing that after your period.
If he's
so
smart
are you
enough.
advising women to fuck simply because he's tried?
Do what?
Are you advising women to fuck men that they're going out with simply because he's putting in a little bit of effort?
I advise women to hold off on sex until all their criteria is met, whatever that is. And in this day and age, the criteria is way too short.
I know.
It's a joke. It's fucking embarrassing. It's like, how do you expect to build anything on that kind of?
Yeah.
Yeah. He took me to the bar. We had a couple beers, and he smiled right. Boom, let's do it. That's embarrassing.
What is that?
Yeah.
This was good discussion.
So in recap, men, if you're not thinking about your woman's period, it's just like anything in life. Being preemptive, giving it some forethought, is going to go.
Just being aware.
Being aware, that this is coming around the corner. There's nothing stopping it.
Yeah, don't act surprised she's on her period. Like, she might act surprised because she doesn't know. Not that she's surprised she's having her period. She's just not sure when the exact moment. Like, I've woken up in the middle of the night and I'm like, shit, she's here. Mm-hmm. Or like, I'll be out at work.
Yeah. And
I go to the bathroom and I'm like, oh fuck. Or it could be, that is literally what happens every freaking time to women. Mm-hmm. So we don't know the exact time it's going to show up, but we do know around what period, what days it might occur. So
how much communication do you have with men in your life, or the man that if you're fucking somebody, you have a rotation?
If you're fucking someone, I hope that you're comfortable enough to talk to them about uncomfortable shit.
And if you're not, you shouldn't be fucking them.
Exactly. So yeah, this all go hand in hand.
Yeah, but a lot of people aren't.
Yeah.
And they're still doing the dirty.
And again, it only affects one person in a way.
It affects both. Well,
if you are in a long-term committed relationship, yes. But I mean, it's only the woman who experiences this. But yeah, it will, obviously, because of how she's behaving or how she's receiving whatever's happening around her, it will affect the man too. But my point is, men do not have to think about it, so they have to be more proactive to either ask about it, not in a creepy way, because I don't want no guy tracking my period. Like, what the fuck are you tracking my period for? That's creepy. And even if you're doing it, please don't let your woman know.
Yeah, don't let her know. Don't let her know.
Be
Just
so
do it in the background.
About it.
Be discreet.
And not because, don't even use that. Don't use it in an argument or to make a point. Oh, it's because you are on day 20. Well,
no.
Fuck off. How the fuck did you know it's day 20? Because you're tracking it. So don't be creepy about it. Do it in a respectful way is what I would say, if at all. That is if you're not communicating properly with your woman, which you should be. Otherwise, I don't know.
I just get an app.
You just get an app. You creep. You get an app.
Why is that creepy? Just get an app. Bam, she started. It takes care of the rest. It's like, oh, yeah, it's coming.
What if the app goes, whatever. Yeah, and then one day he will turn in the app to the government and get money, bounty on your head.
Oh, shit. Okay, so that was the 28-day wave.
Very interesting.
Very interesting. Thank you all for watching, and we'll be back soon.